So is what I saw regarding Jiangshan not too long ago something that I think could very well change the trajectory for Jasmy moving forward? Well, I like to lean towards hypothetically yes, and before I explain what I saw and what that is, I just want to first clarify how nothing I say is financial advice. I am not telling anyone to do anything, and how this is just purely my opinion. So, did you know that back in March, actually, Jiangshan won an award, and not just any award, right? They actually won Google for Startups Award at QWS Startup Award 2026, which was held in Shibuya in Tokyo, Japan, which I think is a pretty massive deal actually when it comes to Jasmy. Now, people like to say, well, why though? This is in regard to Jiangshan. We have to think about this. Jiangshan, it's a layer 2, and if we think about its kind of origin, right, it's an incubation project under Jasmy. Not to mention, we have to think about this. Jiangshan is really focused on AI. So inherently, I think if anything, if Jiangshan does pretty good, I think it somewhat indirectly reflects pretty well upon Jasmy. So when people like to say, whatever Jiangshan does, it doesn't matter when it comes to Jasmy. Well, I think it does actually because of its kind of historical ties to a certain extent, right? This is just my perspective. Now, we also have to think about this. The reason why I think this could maybe affect the future of, let's say, Jasmy is because Jiangshan winning an award of that magnitude, I think if anything, that showcases sort of the technological fundamentals that Jiangshan may have. I'm just saying, because if let's say Jasmy or let's say Jiangshan wants to have future enterprise adoption, let's say it wants to have partnerships moving forward, sometimes this type of stuff does matter. It's kind of like adding more sort of trophies to their trophy case in a sense, right? Because the more awards they win, the more recognition that they have, it's going to matter a lot, especially during meetings in real life when they show enterprises what they've done and when they show other individuals out there what they've accomplished. That does matter sometimes. It's like, for instance, walking to a job interview. They see a resume, right? They see our sort of experience, they see our sort of accomplishments. That's the thing. So when I take a look at this right here, I kind of view it no different. I feel like this is another thing to hypothetically add to a hypothetical resume. This is just my perspective. So I don't think it's a bad thing, actually, when people like to say this type of stuff doesn't matter. I tend to disagree with that. I think it does matter, and I think it could very well impact maybe the future of Jasmy moving forward. It doesn't mean that it's going to do much to the price charts, at least in the short term, but I think if anything, it reflects well upon it from a fundamental perspective. And the other day, someone mentioned in the comments like how I was one of the few people who are still talking about Jasmy. Now, I have no way to confirm that because, maybe some other people are still talking about this, but I'm just saying the reason why I'm still talking about this as of right now is because the price charts do not affect my sort of belief and my sort of conviction when it comes to the project, because if I like the fundamentals, then I'm just simply not willing to give up. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but from what I've seen in the past, some people out there, when they make a video on Jasmy, all they're doing is taking a look at the price charts. If that is the case, it's very easy to give up, right? Because in some cases, I don't know if they're taking a look at the fundamentals. In some cases, I don't know if they're taking a look at the use case. I don't know if they even know what Jiangshan is in some cases, right? Because I see a lot of people out there, they make a video about Jasmy, but they never talk about Jiangshan. They never talk about how Jasmy is focused on data storage, historically speaking. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about the Jasmy chain. Usually, they just take a look at the price charts and that's it. But I feel like if I'm only taking a look at the price charts, it doesn't tell the full story. So what happens when the market's having a pullback and I'm only, let's say, taking a look at the price charts, it's very easy to give up at that point because I didn't take a look at the fundamentals. If that's the case, I just take a look at the price chart. However, if I'm just basing it off of the charts solely, then if the market doesn't do well, it's very easy to give up. So the other day, someone asked me, why am I one of the few that are still talking about this? Well, I think maybe that could have been a reason, right? It's like, for instance, I really like Sizzler. It's a restaurant, by the way, but I'm just saying I really like it, right? But imagine if the only reason I liked it was because a lot of my friends liked it, then maybe I'd eat there and stuff like that. But then maybe my friends didn't eat there anymore. Then I wouldn't like it, right? Because if that was the case, that means I didn't really like it, but then I was just there because a lot of people were inviting me to go there. It's a different case if I actually like it, whether my friends want to eat there or not, I'm still going to go there anyways. That's the thing. So when it comes to Jasmy, People like to sometimes ask me, why do I still like it even as of right now? Well, it's because, again, I don't only purely take a look at it off of the charts, because to me, I don't think it's an accurate representation as to what's going on fundamentally speaking. Keep in mind, Jasmy as of right now, with a market cap that is almost 280 million, it would seem like bad at first glance because people like to say, wow, take a look at the pullback. In December of 2024, the market cap was around 2 billion. So people like to say, wow, the pullback has been like approximately 7 times from then, right? Like basically we're around 7 times lower than where it was compared to back then in December of 2024. It may seem like a bad thing at first glance and they say, wow, that means the fundamentals became way worse. But if anything, I feel like Jasmy actually fundamentally improved. And let's say, if anything, if we ignore the fundamental improvements, my thing is this. If I take a look at, let's say in the case of Jasmy, what bad thing happened to it other than the charts? If I just take a look at the fundamentals, I don't know what bad thing happened to it. That's the thing. Keep in mind, it's not like Jasmy randomly became a meme. That is not the case, right? So when people like to say, wow, the price charts are down, that means Jasmy became way worse. Well, in terms of the charts, yes, but I don't agree with that fundamentally speaking. I think sometimes the price being down doesn't necessarily showcase just how well a project is doing fundamentally. And if anything, Jasmy being around 7 times lower than back in December of 2024 only means one thing, right? It means that, personally for me, if it goes back to that, we're around 7 times lower than that. Bitcoin is not around 7 times lower than where it was back in December 2024. And does anyone really think that December of 2024 was an altcoin season? Now, granted, it was a very good time for altcoins comparatively speaking to right now, but I don't think it was like a altcoin season similar to what we saw back in 2021. I don't think so. And if, let's say, we just want to ignore that, let's say Jasmy were to just go back to around $1 billion in terms of market cap, so half of what it reached back in December 2024, we're over 3 times lower than that. And the thing is this, if we take a look at just the idea of like $1 billion in terms of market cap, we kind of more or less saw that in May of 2025. So what? I mean, if it goes back to May of 2025 levels, we're over 3 times lower than that. The thing is this, that's like basically around a year ago, right? We saw that. Because as of right now, we're in May, but we're in 2026, not in 2025. But I'm just saying, if it goes back to levels in which it was around a year ago, do I have much to really be upset about? I don't know if I do, actually. Just because I wouldn't find that disappointing, personally, in my situation. And sure, people like to say, well, if you're waiting on just that, aren't you concerned about this random microcap maybe doing a lot more in terms of the percentage, let's say, recovery or something like that, or let's say in terms of the percentage movement? I'm not concerned about what those projects do. I'm just focused on my own lane. That's the thing. Another project out there, the movement, who knows, right? 40,000%, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I don't care though. That doesn't bother me because I'm just focused on the ones that I'm focused on. For me, Jasmy goes back to around $1 billion in terms of market cap. I have 0 complaints. Like, I mean, if Jasmy doesn't go higher than that in, let's say, a recovery or something like that, I have 0 complaints because, look, right, I'm not trying to become the next most fantastic, like, person within this space. That's not what I'm necessarily looking for. If Jasmy just goes back to that point, I'm all good. It's like, for instance, some of my friends out there, they really want a Lamborghini. Cool, I think it's an awesome vehicle, but I don't want one though. That's the thing. Like, personally for me, I like more so a Toyota. That's what I like. I don't have those sort of desires. This is just personally for me. So yeah, sure, a microcap could do whatever fantastic movement, but that's not what I'm looking for anyways. And usually people only talk about the ones that make it. They don't talk about the ones that don't. They don't talk about the thousands of others that don't, right? So that's why I just like to focus on my own lane, focus on the projects that I've already researched, focus on the projects that I'm already a fan of, and that's it. I'll gladly wait. However, I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward, so hopefully y'all stay tuned for that. I want to say thank you for watching. It's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.